Should I go for I'll be nasty? I'm a nasty woman because I am not afraid to admit I'm super pumped for my kid to go back to school so that I can be alone again.
Hmm. I'm a nasty woman because I set off all the smoke alarms in my apartment at 7 a.m. this morning, burning sage.
I'm
Like an
Aaron Brown.
amateur.
I'm Aaron Brown.
And I'm Nagar Fanuni.
And you're listening to Nasty Women Radio, where today we're going to talk about gossip.
We're going to gossip about gossip,
We're going
I
to gossip
guess.
about gossip. Wouldn't it be funny if we were doing a podcast about gossip and it was just us gossiping?
Gossiping. Tricked you.
You thought we were going to say it's bad, but
You
we're just going to do
be a
it.
productive conversation, but
Yes.
it's just us talking shit.
Like, did you see what Jen Sinkler was wearing the other day? Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Well, we would say that, but we would say it in a totally different intonation. We'd be like, oh my gosh, did you see what Jen Sinkler was rocking the other day? She is a goddess.
I know. What's amazing about that is that that's probably, like, no matter what, Jen Sinkler was wearing something the other day that was great. I have no idea what she's wearing.
I respect her creative fashion choices.
So creative.
I really do. I mean, yours too.
This is so much like aggressive print matching. What is that called? Oh my gosh, there's a word for it. It's like
something about me.
It's mismatching. It's power mismatching, but that's not what it's called. Anyway.
That's how it's described.
Yes.
For sure.
Power clashing.
Is that what it is? Power
yes.
clashing? I love it.
When you put like more than one print together that don't go at all.
But they do.
Power clashing. Yeah.
Power clashing. Mm-hmm. I'm into it. There was a point in my life where I would not have mixed silver and gold jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Who was I then? I was so vanilla. I would not have mixed silver and gold jewelry. Like now I'm like, give me all the metals and all the stones and I'll just mix them all together. I would not have worn black and brown together.
Mm-hmm. Like a brown shoe with a black outfit.
Oh, no.
No.
Now, like, yes. I mean, everything goes with black, so.
It does. Or brown.
Basically, everything I own is black, so. Yeah. Yeah. So, you just get more brave as you get older. There was a period of time when I worked at the Gap and I literally wore khakis and cardigans.
Like all the time?
I was in high school and I wore khakis and cardigans.
I wore khakis, but it was because I worked at Sears. So, like, I had to wear
khakis.
But
I wore them, like, did you wear them only at Sears? Because I wore them, like, in social situations.
I always got them from New York and Company, so they'd have a little bit of stretch. And I worked at Sears Portrait Studio, so I wore that in a blue shirt. But I think I would wear that outfit, like, out with a black leather jacket that looks like a suit jacket. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. I mean, I was very stylish.
Listen, I'm not knocking khakis. Like, I get it. Some people, khakis are authentic to you. Khakis were not my authentic nature. They're not. Somebody at the gym recently described me as a hippie vampire, and I was like, that is the best compliment anyone has ever given me because it's the most accurate description of who I am.
That is perfect. Do you want to hear a funny story of me in khakis?
I do.
I was wearing my khakis at the mall, and I was in line waiting to check out, and it was the end of the day, and everything was closing, and I'm standing there and have that feeling that is like unmistakably my period just started. You know, when you're like, that is blood I feel. And of course I'm wearing the only like light colored pants that I own. And so I'm trying to find a restroom at the mall. Everything is closing. I sprint to the nearest department store. I can't find a bathroom. I run frantically up to like this jewelry counter, and there's a couple of dudes there, and I'm like, where's the bathroom? And they tell me it's up the escalator. So I go to run up the escalator. I've got 2 bags full of clothes. I fall on the up escalator, and my stuff.
That is my biggest nightmare.
All around around me. Yeah.
Oh no.
And they're like, they see me do this because I'm sure it made a noise. And also I just like frantically ran to them. So I'm like a whole commotion. And I get to the bathroom and of course I've bled all the way all over my pants. And so when that happened, then they also saw just like big, giant period stains.
Oh my God. So this was like last week. Right?
This is like the kind of story that would go in the back of YM. Do you remember that? The Say Anything section?
Yes.
Anyway.
Oh, good.
But I bought new pants, so I changed in the bathroom. That's my fun story.
So when your stuff all, like, as I'm picturing your stuff going all over the place, did you have to like run around picking it up with your period stain?
Yes. It was just all over the escalator. It was a mess.
Being a girl is hard.
It is hard.
A lot of work.
Especially when there's periods and khakis and escalators.
Let me tell you what, there are maybe like 5 days out of the month where I feel like a human being who isn't in some way having something happening in her uterus.
But it's so refreshing though,
Literally
right?
5
When
days.
it happens. Like, woo!
I'm like, ooh, all right, this is where I book all the photo shoots. This is where there's that little tiny window.
You can get a lot of shit done in those 5 days.
Get a lot of shit done. Well, today we're talking about gossip, which I will be honest, I am sometimes a little bit of a self-proclaimed chismosa, which in Spanish is one who gossips. So, and I have come to a place in my adult life where I really understand the difference between harmful gossip and playful gossip, and gossip as a means to process emotions. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's important to be aware of that because our tendency, given our culture, is to talk about other people in a derogatory way as a means of entertainment for ourselves.
Yeah.
I think I just nailed it. I described gossip.
You did. So my friend Jay Pryor, who is fantastic, but he's always saying that like because he's very much against gossip. And he always says that gossip is talking about someone and they're not present, period. And okay, then I struggle with that because like you, there are things that I need to talk about. And for me, it's really important that if I'm talking about it, that it's useful to me and that it is not harmful to them. So I'm always speaking as if every single thing that I say about a person would go back to them. You know what I mean? Like, so that needs to be clear for me anyway. And then usually what that looks like is like, I'm going to use you as an example just because you're here and that won't be harmful. So I'm going to make up that we had a fight. And then this is how I would talk about it to a friend. So like, Neg did X, Y, and Z. It's not really about her, but this is what happened. And now I'm over here still really struggling with these feelings and you know, that's done and she did that and it's not really the point, but why am I still struggling with these feelings around it? So I'm looking at me. You know, I can objectively say this is the context or the relationship or whatever, and then here's me and how do I process or move through this that's my piece. But by Jay's definition, that would still be gossip. And for me, I need to be able to do that. And at the same time, I'm sitting here thinking, like, maybe this is just a place I need to do some growing.
No, I think I like my definition better.
Fuck it.
I mean, you have to feel fuck it. We're redefining gossip. I think that it's important because if we do that, then we're saying that it's not okay to have productive conversations with people who have earned the right to receive us when we're vulnerable about things that involve other people. And most of your emotions are going to involve interactions with other people. The key is that like you need to be the center of it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're talking about it, it needs to center you. It doesn't mean it's not going to involve someone else. Or maybe you want to talk out, like maybe, you know, given like using your example, I'm talking with my friend Rachel and I'm like, Aaron did this thing and I can't figure out how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I would only have that conversation with someone who could receive that and go, huh, that's really interesting. How does that make you feel? And we can have a productive conversation where it's not, oh, Erin did that because she's a bitch.
Right.
You know, like that's, So I think that it's important when we're talking about, like, if we don't want to be creatures who speak in derogatory ways about other people as a means of entertainment or because we're lazy and we don't have other things to talk about, I think that it's important that we discuss those things with people with whom we know can receive us and can have these productive conversations, who've earned the right to see us at our most vulnerable, who we know aren't going to compound it. So even so much as like with relationship issues, I am very careful not to discuss sensitive relationship issues with an intimate partner, with an individual who I know can't receive that.
Yeah.
With an individual who, like Brene Brown describes, like people who can't receive you when you're vulnerable as like, there's like two different archetypes. There's like the person who tries to one up you, who's like, oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you about, you know, my experience. It's even worse. Or the person who compounds it by being like, what an asshole, what a piece of shit. We hate him. You should leave him. Like, these are the two sort of archetypes that like are not people that can really safely hold that space for you. And it's not a judgment against them, because at the end of the day, they're using the only tools they know necessary, they know, and that they own and are capable of using to try to help support you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess for me, like what we're saying is in order for someone else's name to be in your mouth and have that be a productive, useful conversation, it needs to be one in which you are 100% accountable for yourself.
Yes.
You know, so it's not very useful to be like, Neg did this and she's a shit person, because who cares? Yeah. Like that's not even interesting.
You know, it's not interesting, but like if let's break it down and make it as raw as possible. If you're going to say that, be prepared to say that to the person's face.
Yeah.
Not to say that like if I'm sitting here and I'm being like, God, Erin's such a fucking cunt. Although I really like the word cunt. So like it wouldn't be an insult if I said it towards you, but you know, just for sake of argument, you know, and not that that's helpful or that that's productive or that adds anything to the world or the conversation whatsoever. But like, I need to be prepared to say that to your face.
Right. Well, and that's venting, but I feel like venting for me, I only want to vent like 3 to 5 minutes a day. Yeah. Because it's real easy to just be like, I need to vent, and then have that be all that you do. You know? And when you bring gossip or venting, even venting, I think can be healthy if it's contained, and then that's a means to let it go. Not like I can't wait to talk to a new person so I continue to vent about the same thing. I just rile myself up when I vent. When I'm venting, I'm like, oh, now I'm mad all over again, and I feel like a tornado. I'm like, and then.
Yeah. Venting is not a release for me. It does the same thing for me. I just get more worked up. It's like you're reliving it. And that's the thing about gossip and venting, is that what you are doing is you're consistently, like, you are consciously, actively reliving negative experiences.
Right. Which is not good for you. Again. Even if it would never to get back to that person, you're not creating positive experiences for yourself. So regardless of where, you know, your own ethics on your mouth lie, you're creating negative experiences for yourself if you're talking about other people in a way that's negative. You know,
well,
I'll definitely do that.
Absolutely. And it just kind of keeps you in that space. And I think in a lot of ways it keeps us from receiving people with empathy and compassion. And more often than not, I think when we're gossiping in like, you know, within the way that we have described gossip, meaning that it's not productive and it's not as a means to process emotion, you know, it's not a conscious effort to process a situation or process feelings. Be accountable. Exactly. It's just malicious. And it's petty. And it's usually because there's something about ourselves there's something about that person that forces us to face something in ourselves. Right. And it's more productive to, when you have those feelings, to go like, why? It's okay to like see someone walking down the street or have an interaction with someone at the gym or have a colleague who you're like, your first instinct is like an icky feeling. That's okay. Yeah. But why? Yeah. And I think that's usually where we stop. It's so much more comfortable to avoid that inquiry and instead just launch into gossip.
Yeah. Well, and make whatever your discomfort is everybody else's problem and not your own. Right. And it could be that they're a shit person. So then that means your issue is that you need to set a boundary with how you interact with them or how you receive them.
Yeah.
You know how I really like to gossip, though? I like to gossip, about what's happening on The Bachelorette or
yes, you do.
things that are happening in pop culture. That is because there are people who, for a living, offer up their lives for conversation. You know? So, that's an interesting way to sort of, scratch that itch and just, I wish she would have picked a different dude. That kind of thing. Because it's available to you to talk about.
And it is, and so using my very astute description of gossip, where we're talking about other people as a means for entertainment, this is supposed to be entertainment.
Right.
That's the entire purpose behind it, is that it's entertainment.
Right.
People, they signed up for that. They know that people are talking about them. They literally signed up to be talked about.
Yeah. And I think that can be kind of fun.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see how that could be fun.
As opposed to, I have no interest in talking about, if, if there's a couple at Lola's school, parents that seem like there's some drama between them or, that kind of thing. The kind of thing where it's this is literally, people's lives that I'm just observing and it has nothing to do with me. It doesn't affect me in any way. That's just not useful.
No, I agree. But we do it. So we do it because, I don't necessarily do it on a regular basis. I do catch myself doing it every now and then. And I'm thankful for the ability to have grown into that space with myself where I can see myself doing something and then have a sort of a questioning process of oh, why do I feel the need to talk about this person?
Yeah.
Where is that coming from? So, it does happen. But culturally, the collective we do it. Yeah. And I think that it's a means to entertain without having to go deeper. And as someone who absolutely despises small talk, and you're like me, it's either straight to, it's if it's uncomfortable to go deep, we're straight to medium.
Yeah.
But more often than not, we're going right to the deep stuff because I just can't. I don't have a single fuck to give about small talk. It's not a thing I can do anymore.
Yeah.
I've used all my small talk resources
completely
for
depleted.
the duration. Depleted. Don't have any more. And so I think that, gossip is a means of having just conversations with people, unintentional conversations that just don't require us to go into deeper topics. That don't require us to connect on deeper levels. So it feels safe, I think, in a lot of ways. It's a safe way for people to interact because it doesn't require you going deep on your own shit. It doesn't require you opening yourself up and being vulnerable. It's an easy sort of safe way to have conversations with people.
Well, and if you're just talking shit, I think that's the shortcut to connection with people because the quickest thing to link people is a common enemy.
Yes.
That's what we've seen in history too, right? So, not any examples that aren't problematic for the. There are plenty if you just jog your brain. So I think that it's sort of cheating. It's cheating at connection to be oh my gosh, we both don't like her, and then you're a club.
And now we're best friends.
Yeah,
because we're the I Hate Aaron Brown Club.
Right, which I wish existed sometimes. Then people who send me nasty emails could just have a meeting instead.
You should start it. You should start it. You should start the club, and then when you get hate mail, you can just be "Oh, there's actually a place for you. It's not in my inbox.
No,
but it is over here. It's all set up. There's a forum and everything, and y'all can just, y'all can all connect over your mutual hatred.
I should charge them for it. Wouldn't that be fun?
Like a monthly membership?
Yeah.
Whoa, yes. This might be the best idea that we've ever come up with.
I can send them special comments, content just to hate. Here, hate this bullshit I just wrote.
Exclusive content for the I Hate Aaron Brown Club. Wow.
I can send them all the shit that I write, and I'm that's terrible. I'm not going to post that, and then I'll just send it to them.
I just bought the domain. Don't worry, I got you. We'll get it set.
And that's a gossip club.
Yeah, it's a gossip club. Oh man. Okay. So here's the thing. If you're listening, then it's not if you're listening. You are listening. If you're Oh goodness.
It's going well.
It's going well. I was just telling Erin before we got on the to record that I actually slept last night, which is so rare for me that I feel strange.
Yeah.
Like this is what rested feels like. It's an odd feeling. It's gonna take some getting used to. So if while you're listening, you're feeling triggered by some of this stuff because you're like, ooh, that's something I do. Or maybe you often find yourself in situations with friends or with colleagues where, gossip is the topic of the hour. Mm-hmm. Then this is an opportunity to sort of unpack that, I think, Yeah,
I'm often, and I really don't think it happens as much anymore, but I don't spend a lot of time with people, and when I do, it's so precious. Like I went for a 30-minute walk with a couple of friends today, and so we weren't using that time to talk about what somebody else was wearing. We were like catching up about our lives and stuff, so there really isn't much space in my life for it. I think it's harder when you have coworkers and like the common things is the same. You're looking at the same people all the time.
Right.
There's always that one person that drives everybody crazy. You know what I mean? So that's where I feel like the environment's a little trickier. So when I was in environments like that, whoever were like my comrades, I would regularly be like, I just am really trying to be more positive. Like, let's just like not talk about that part. Like suggest to the group. Yeah. Like let's try and talk about anything else, because man, or just like acknowledging that it is bad for the environment. So when I worked in a salon, whenever one of us was gossiping or complaining, we had a pact with the stylist that we were all like friends, where as soon as somebody started saying something that was gossipy or complaining, we would just turn to them and be like, "You are so pretty," and then we'd all compliment each other and completely move on. It was great.
Oh my God.
Because it was like we were calling them out, but we were also like giving them a compliment. Who's mad when they hear they're pretty? And so you'd be like, you're so right.
Like, oh my God.
You're right. You're pretty too. And then we've all moved on.
Mm-hmm. So you agree. You think you're really pretty.
Right.
So yes, I think that there's two things happening here. There's one, if you find that like gossip is something that really it's a natural sort of habitual behavior for you. It's a learned behavior that you find yourself doing often that you'd like to cease. Then I think that there is some unpacking there as to like, why do I feel the need to gossip? Do I have unprocessed emotions about this person? Am I afraid of connection? Mm-hmm. And this is an easy way for me to connect with people. Do I have feelings of comparison and jealousy and envy? And why am I feeling those things? What is it about myself that I'm not facing? Where are there spaces within me that I can touch so that I can heal and evolve those spaces so that it doesn't require me to feel negatively towards another person whose life literally has nothing to do with mine? So there's a lot of ways that we can unpack that. And it does require a willingness to inquire within.
Yeah.
And I think that habitually, like we've come as a culture to live very automatically. Intention and purposeful thought and purposeful action and words are not as common as automatic and habitual thought and words and action. So gossip is just a habit. It's something that for so many people, if you find yourself doing it, it's just an automatic behavior that isn't necessary and is going to require a little bit of inquiry as to like, well, why is this going down? And how can I weave myself out of that behavior and into a behavior that's more intentional? And then secondarily, if you find yourself with friends, I get this question from a lot of readers actually who say like, I'm coming into a space where I'm trying to feel more peace within my body. more acceptance within my body. And so I'm working on more positive self-talk and speaking more positively about other people. But then I find myself with my friends and they're either speaking negatively about themselves or about other people. And I don't know how to be in that space and be, and speak my truth. Yeah. And there's really no easy answer there because, as you mentioned, what has to happen is, hey, let's not do that anymore.
Yeah, you have to set a boundary.
You have to set a boundary, and that's not an easy thing to do. And I wish there were an easy answer. I wish there were like some sort of like, oh, if you, wave this magic wand, then all of your friends will stop gossiping and you won't have to have an uncomfortable conversation. But yeah, more often than not, change and progress only occurs when we have the courage and the vulnerability to get uncomfortable. So if the idea of telling your friends or your coworkers, or maybe it's a person who the power dynamic puts them, above you in an authority sense, and you're afraid to have this conversation. Yeah, I get it. Of course you're afraid to have that conversation because it's going to be uncomfortable, but there is going to require, like, if you are committed to putting out more positive energy into the universe and you're committed to like breaking this habit or being a part of harmful gossip, then you are going to have to get uncomfortable and you are going to have to say, I get why you feel the need to do this. Personally, I'm really trying hard not to speak negatively about other people. I'd really like to have more productive conversations. So, you do you, but
it makes me feel bad when I'm talking about this person. And I also it's usually a person, and it's usually a person you all agree, whoever you're with, is like just awful.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make you feel good to talk about it.
It doesn't. Is it gossip if I talk shit about my dogs?
I don't think so. I don't know. Does it make you feel good? That's worth inquiring about.
It's venting. I'm definitely venting.
I think venting's probably okay, but I would try and cut it off at 3 to 5 minutes.
I do it to their faces, though.
Then that's fine. You're just communicating and trying to set boundaries.
Okay, so it's fine. So then
I think that like people get stuck on feeling like they have to have like a monologue or come from this like holier than thou perspective. Like, yesterday I quit gossiping and now I'm better than you. When really it's more about like being in the process of it. So like, I get it, and we do this all the time, but I've noticed that I feel like this afterwards, and I don't know, I would love to I don't know how you guys feel about that, but just this is a new thing. You're in a process. You're having this conversation with people. The question I get most frequently, and I think it relates to this, is about like how to respond with like bigotry in family members and stuff. And this is a little bit off topic, but it's the same kind of thing. Like, you don't have to come from this holier than thou perspective. You can be like, I used to sort of think along those lines, or I used to not say anything when you said stuff like that because it made me uncomfortable. And recently I've learned X, Y, Z, but you can just like be a person in progress and not necessarily like, yesterday we all talked shit on Nagar, but today I meditated and now
I'm clear.
Yeah, no, it's more like I've been thinking this, and share that and see what people respond to. I recently learned this, or I read this the other day, and I wonder if we might have, just leave each other feeling more uplifted if we didn't talk about this person, or we've gotten in this habit, and like just be honest and open, and don't act like you changed your mind yesterday so you're a whole new person, because you're not. You just want to try something different.
Yes. And I think that it's really important that you frame it as like, this is me trying to step into a new space and occupy a new space, rather than what you're doing is wrong and you need to stop.
Yeah.
And so I think that and that's actually great, because that teaches us to have conversations wherein we take into consideration that there are lots of personal dynamics going on, and the only one that we are responsible for is our own.
Yeah.
So, that is an opportunity to practice having those conversations. I think we can also reframe it as, hey, if we stop talking shit about Aaron, now we've got all this space to talk about Game of Thrones, or which is all I talk about during this time of year. So yeah, or, the existential crises of, women in their 30s. Like, maybe we can have conversations that like grow and expand our consciousness, or, ask us to like touch different spaces that we're not necessarily paying attention to because we're so preoccupied with tagging shit. It's an opportunity to just have like more meaningful conversations,
and more
which for
productive
everyone
conversations.
is different. Yeah.
Yes. Which for me is like, it feels like all that I have really time and energy for at this point, because especially since I've had my kid with me all summer attached, I haven't been alone like I'm used to process. So like anything that's not helping me move forward in a more like efficient, productive way is just like more shit that I'm carrying around that I don't have room for. So I think that, a more productive conversation, even if you're always gossiping about the same person, a more productive conversation would be, what is it about me that's so upset about this person? What is it about me that's offended by the way she dresses? What is about me that that is intimidated or jealous or whatever? You know what I mean? But like, if you're always doing the same thing, then figure out what it is about you so that you can move forward healthier, because the other person is just being themselves. My husband's always saying, you can't get mad at people for being themselves, which I want to disagree with, but is usually true.
Oh man. Yeah. And it's an opportunity for growth. Like when you feel yourself being called to gossip, it's an opportunity to ask, to go inward and be like, why do I want to talk shit about this person? No judgment. It's not an opportunity for you to beat yourself up. Like, God, Nag, you're such a bitch for gossiping all the time.
Right.
It's an opportunity to go, why do I consistently feel called to do this?
Right.
What am I numbing? What am I distracting from?
Right.
What am I avoiding by engaging in this conversation? Because more often than not, there is, something that's being ignored or avoided, that's filling a space that, that is like, if you keep feeling called to talk shit about the same person, or about a certain type of person, that's the universe saying like, listen up, ho, I'm trying to tell you something.
Right.
Like, Is
it that you need to set a better boundary? Is it that somebody's doing something over and over again that you need to speak up about instead of just say something later? Like, what is it? For me, it's usually that, especially in recent years. It's been like, I let little nagging things about somebody pass for whatever reason. Like, they're really dealing with something right or whatever. And so like the same thing that I'm uncomfortable with keeps happening until I get to a point where I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But I think those are all sorted out now. I feel very clear at the moment. But that's that's the thing that will get to me, is my giving people passes for their behavior instead of setting a boundary.
Yeah.
And that's my deal.
Because then it blows up and now you have a really sticky, messy boundary to figure out, as opposed to like teaching people how to treat you from the very beginning. It's really interesting. You hear like, the old adage is treat people how you want to be treated. And I completely disagree with that. I think we need to treat people how they want to be treated.
Yeah.
And so, like until you know how people want to be treated, sure. Like treat them with the kindness and the respect and, the empathy and compassion that you would want to be given to yourself. But when it comes to more nuanced behavior, if somebody tells you how they want to be treated, then we have to respect that. And so I think that setting those boundaries is very much about that. It's very much about like, well, this is how I want to be treated. This is not something I can tolerate. And it's not because this is the way that people interact. This is the way that I want to be interacted with.
Yeah.
And speaking up about those boundaries, I think on the front end, again, uncomfortable conversation.
Right.
But speaking up about those boundaries on the front end can help us avoid a lot of situations where down the road we're like having chisme is gossip. We're having chisme about like our office mate or, whomever.
Yeah. Just when it could have been as simple as being like, can you not chew gum in the office or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Can you?
When you chew gum,
It makes me feel.
It
that
makes
still
me
the
feel
therapy thing?
like I want to punch you in the face. And I know that's my issue.
And then I go hang out with my girl and get margs, and we just talk about you and your fucking gum.
Like when Karen chews gum. Karen and her gum. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's always Karen. It's always like Karen or like Brenda.
Or Chad if it's a dude.
Chad, for sure.
Chad.
No offense to Karen and Brenda.
Or Chad.
Definitely offense to Chad. No, full offense to Chad.
Chad can be offended.
Chad can fuck off.
Chad's a fuck boy. It's fun.
See, look, we're gossiping about Chad, and it's fun.
There's no Chad,
No.
in case anybody
There's
knows.
no Chad. I don't actually know anybody named Chad. I knew a guy in high school named Chad, and he's actually pretty dope.
I don't know.
He's like super woke.
I always think Chads and Chets. Are like,
I never knew anyone named Chet. I grew up in Southern California. I don't think anyone in LA is named Chet.
I want to look up a Chet in LA for you.
Probably in
Someone to hang out
Kansas, there's probably a fair amount of Chets.
One would think. I don't know any personally.
But I only ever knew one Chad. Great guy. Friends with him on Facebook. He posts lots of really like insightful, awakened political things. I dig him. Good. So Chad, the only Chad I know.
One good Chad.
He's the one good Chad. He's the one good Chad. Okay, ladies.
We're bad
listen.
people.
Here we are. Here we are gossiping about Chad. The bottom line is gossip is conversations that are had without that person present in an effort to entertain or whatever the case may be in a way that is harmful to another person, and you would not feel comfortable saying those things to that person's face.
Yeah.
So let's just ask ourselves, are we engaging regularly in those conversations? No judgment, just awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And, or are we around people who regularly engage in those conversations? How does it make us feel? And how can we move through it so that we can have more productive, meaningful conversations that add to the collective good of the universe?
Yeah. And is it good for you? You know, is that a good use of your time? Because for me, it's less about like feeling judgmental of that behavior. I think it's normal behavior. It's also usually, I think it means to kind of bolster your own sense of self, you know, if you're right about somebody else and you get to be right for a minute. But like, is that actually making you feel better? Is that good in the long run? Just do some inquiry and then, you know, have the difficult conversations where you decide, you know, whether or not that's something that you're going to do with your group of friends anymore. That's all. Is it best for you? Probably not.
Probably not. Thank you for listening to Nasty Women Radio. Maybe you're going to gossip about us after this episode. And maybe you want to join the I Hate Nasty Women Radio Club.
We'll work on that.
But alternatively, join the I Love Nasty Women Radio Club. Leave us a review. We would love that.
Subscribe on iTunes and tell your friends.
Yes.